down more at the local level, staying on Team Blue, in New York City. Cuomo's son, Andrew, thinks he's Mario. And that's a big mistake because Mario Cuomo was legitimately very popular in New York, and that's why he made a credible run for president. Andrew Cuomo has disgraced himself as a sex pest and the murderer of a bunch of elderly people, to put it uncharitably, because he's the one who ordered COVID-positive patients to go back into these nursing homes after having been warned that it would lead to the death of the most vulnerable population in those nursing homes. And he did it anyway. And that's never been fully addressed. But then he tried to lie about the number of people who died, all while he got $5 million to have his staff on taxpayer money write a book about how amazingly he handled COVID, where we were all but in prison for 2 years in New York. I was there. Okay, so he's not popular. He lost the Democratic primary to this nutcase Mamdani, who's a socialist, a communist. And now he's refusing to drop out, saying, I'm going to run as an independent. Well, that's the lane that Eric Adams, the sitting mayor of New York, is running in. And all of this sounds nuts, except when you look at the current polling, Cuomo would beat Mamdani in a race if it were just the two of them head to head. So what do you make of all that?
Yeah, so the problem is that both Adams and Cuomo are more radioactive than the communist, right? They have higher negative and unfavorable ratings than the communists. So if they have any chance of winning, what they're going to have to do is discredit Mamdani with Democrats, because the Democratic electorate, the electorate in a New York City election, about 70% Democrats. So Mamdani just holds 25% of them. He can lose a lot. He's still going to win. So you need to convince the average Democrat that this guy is going to make you lose your job, he's going to make your streets unsafe, and that he's unacceptable. And if you manage to do that, it's doable. I'm not sure it's likelier than not, but it's doable. Then one of them could surge, whether it's Cuomo or Adams, whoever is in second place, and the others fall away. So I think there's too much focus. One, Cuomo thinks he's going to make himself likable by just going out and glad-handing people in the streets. I don't think that's going to happen. And two, there has to be some sort of deal.
Don't touch me.
The focus has to be, bringing Mamdani's ratings down, making him radioactive, and then maybe a vista opens up where something's possible where New York City can dodge this bullet. But I wouldn't bet on it. I
really think it's crazy not to be hitting Mamdani over the head every day with the law and order stuff. He 100% was for defund the police. When other Democrats said, when we say defund the police, we don't really mean defund the police. We mean transfer some money over to more social services type systems that could intervene in other matters. And he said, no, we mean defund the police. And then as we get to know him better, clips keep resurfacing because in addition to being a sex pest and a killer of elderly people, Andrew Cuomo has a very, very shitty Oppo research team that didn't find any of this stuff when he was running against him in the primary. So here comes the following soundbite from 2020, where Mamdani seemed to be very, very anti-cop and very, very pro some other third force on domestic violence incidents. Take a listen here to Sat 9.
Police do not create safety. For many, many people across this city and this state, police actually create and amplify violence. And it is very important to speak about that reality that many people have, because it pushes up against the conventional understanding of police, who are seen to be people who come to resolve violence. But, I mean, you just look at the history of the NYPD, and you see that we have invested in a system that functions in many ways to punish poor Black and brown people across this city and across this state, and frankly, across this country. And there are so many responsibilities we have given to police that frankly should have nothing to do with their departments. A homeless person is on a train. They do not need a stranger with a gun to come and resolve that situation. You know, if somebody is jaywalking, if somebody is surviving, going through domestic violence, if there are so many different situations that would be far better handled by people trained to deal with those specific situations, as opposed to an individual with a gun.
So what Nicole Brown Simpson really needed, Rich, was for some social worker to step in and try to explain to OJ that it's not nice to nearly decapitate your ex-wife, or maybe somebody who would talk to him about centering his blackness. That could have really brought out, some softer side of OJ. In Mamdani's world, that's what they do. This is absolutely absurd. So women who are getting the shit kicked out of them by their husbands now are going to have some sweet little social worker show up with her knitted sweater to try to talk the husband down off the ledge in Mamdani's New York.
Yeah, totally preposterous. One, you're right about Cuomo's Oppo research in the primary. There's a video like this literally every single day popping on X. Where were they during the primary campaign? And ordinary Democrats aren't anti-cop. The activists and the ideologues and the progressive element of the Democratic Party, like Mamdani, are anti-cop. But Eric Adams won the Democratic primary 4 years ago on a pro-police platform, a pro-law and order platform. And people in dangerous neighborhoods do not want the social worker showing up. They want the guy with a gun on his hip, and they want more of them, and they want he or she to get there faster than they do now. So this is you're absolutely right. This is a huge opening. And Cuomo or Adams or whoever wants to have some chance of stopping this guy needs to just hammer it.
Especially because it is the communities of color, especially those in the more working class and poor neighborhoods of New York, who need cops more than anyone. They need cops. Right. And only people who come from a very privileged background, like Mamdani, don't understand that.
Yeah, probably never needed a police officer to help resolve a situation that was dangerous or potentially dangerous in his life, and probably never will, right? But that's not the lived experience of a lot of New Yorkers. And the crime, that we read about in the New York Post and elsewhere, that's so harrowing. It's generally quite limited in several very specific neighborhoods. So what you want to do is, flood those places with cops and go specifically after the gang members and the people have records are dangerous, and you can make the city a lot safer. Rudy Giuliani proved this back in his day, and it was popular. No one wants to get shot. No one wants to be fearful of getting shot. No one wants to get harassed on the subways. And the beginning of the answer, at least in terms of public policy terms, are more cops and better cops.
My brother Paul was a lifelong cop, made it to lieutenant in Albany, New York. He's retired now. And do you know how many domestic violence calls he had to go out on and actually saved women's lives? This is in inner city Albany. These women are terrified and grateful to see the police show up. This is from the Free Beacon on what's happening in New York City in particular. They write, NYPD recorded more than 110,000 domestic violence incidents in the city during just 2024. More than 110,000 where someone called the cops. The 4 worst precincts for domestic violence, with more than 3,000 recorded incidents each, were located in poor and heavily minority districts around East New York, Little Haiti, the North Bronx, the South Bronx. Listen to this. Former NYPD homicide detective Pete Panuccio, who spent 4 decades with the department and responded to hundreds of domestic violence incidents, called a lack of police involvement, quote, absolutely insane. Homicide rates will increase. That women, he writes, will be pulverized. Women will be pulverized and homicide rates will increase under Mamdani. That should be in ads that circulate nonstop in New York for these Upper West Side white liberal women in their Lululemons who want to feel good about themselves by electing a communist and will never have to worry about being one of the ones pulverized as a result of no cops.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all fear random crime, but the greatest threat to a lot of people are people especially to women, right? It's the abusive spouse, it's the abusive boyfriend, it's someone you split up from and is stalking you, and you need law and order and the authorities to protect you from that person. And Mamdani just isn't into this as an ideological matter, right? He doesn't care about the evidence.
The other thing that just occurred to me, sorry to interrupt you, is 99% of the social workers are female. They're all female. They just are. Women have tons of empathy. Women are naturally attracted to that line of work. And a lot of them are middle-aged or older. And I wouldn't say, in my experience, having met with a lot of them over the course of my career, that they tend to be like the super fit. So you're going to send these like middle-aged women into these dangerous neighborhoods where a man is beating the hell out of his wife, and you're going to have her try to stop it. Take a guess what's going to happen, okay? Because unlike Mamdani, I've actually interviewed countless numbers of domestic violence victims, and it can happen across sociological spectrum. It can happen to rich women. It can happen to poor women. But in every case, it's happening at the hands of a man who's extremely controlling and extremely dangerous and could not be talked off the ledge by the person he's supposed to love any more than anyone else in the world. And the notion that you could send some third party, likely female, into that situation to diffuse it is absolutely insane. The only person who can diffuse it is a guy with a gun and a badge who can put that guy behind bars. And even then, sometimes they don't stop. Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they're moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your own personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. OMG. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by buying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold extremely easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898 and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.